it is the biggest travesty in the MCU
I feel like
that Killmonger is out except for a 3-minute cameo in this movie. He deserved better.
Wow.
Get it off your chest, Casey. Get it off your chest.
Hey, Indigo made the beat.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Here's Peak podcast. I am your host, Chris, the current feather serpent god of the pod. And we're here to talk about entertainment, culture, and whatever the hell we feel like. And today, we feel like talking about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And to talk about that with me, I've got some wonderful co-hosts. We're going to start. James, how you doing, James?
Hey, man. One way out. One way. Oh, shit. Wrong show. Star Wars Andor.
I was going to chant with you.
My bad.
No. That's not how it works.
Wakanda Forever. That's what I meant. I'm getting my geek shows confused. My bad.
Hadouken. Wait, no. Shit. It's all merging in my brain. All right. Also with us, Keith. How you doing, Keith?
hey you, and to all a good Hadouken.
Good Hadouken. And lastly, new face in the pod. It's KC. How you doing, KC?
Hey,
Great, thanks for having me, Chris. I do feel a little nervous about us reviewing a movie where somebody's called a bald demon, and just looking at the number of us that are in that category.
Yo, that's hilarious. Chris has the Kukulkan hairstyle, and the rest of us look like a Dori Milaje middle of the night.
I'm gonna start etching
That's why I took to the bald-headed demon comment. I was like, that was.
I know. Yeah, Eric looked at me too that moment because he's always making fun of me not having hair.
Make sure you get the right tone makeup, otherwise people will notice.
Otherwise, you're ashy. Not a good
Hold
look.
on. Chris, when you get out your water in your tub, do you do the Namor thing with your hair? And you're like,
Dude,
the air is pristine in this bathroom.
I spend all the time at work immediately, like I'll because I wear my hat most of the time, but I'll take my hat off and I'll immediately be like,
And you'll do one of these.
Like a V-Down Sassoon commercial.
Just take it out. Just
that's right. You get that head shake. It comes in the territory.
It's like glory to boss, glory to boss. All right, let's get back on track.
So we are talking Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, directed by Ryan Coogler, also written by Ryan Coogler and Joe Robert Cole, both of which wrote the first Black Panther movie, and of course directed also by Ryan Coogler. So very much nice when they can continue having the same structure behind the scenes. It really does help these movies feel of a piece. Starring Letitia Wright, Angela Bassett, Tenoch Huerta. Is it not Huerta? Look, it's been like 25 years since I've been to Spanish class. Lupita Nyong'o.
Colonizers.
Hey, we got a full favorite colonizer in the movie. And a large cast of wonderful actors and actresses. And raking in on its opening weekend a cool $400 million worldwide box office.
Wow. Good job. Wow.
Basically went Black.
Does that include Asia?
What Black Adam? I don't know what you're talking about. You didn't do it.
Does that include Asia, Chris?
I wanted Black Adam to be better too.
I did not see if it included China. Is usually the last. All right, let's get to the movie here because this is
let's get to it.
Wonderful movie and a lot to talk about. So I'm just gonna open with this, the way the movie opens, and that is as a funeral for T'Challa, the character, and as a tribute to Chadwick Boseman, the person. The first I don't know, 15 minutes, they made sure they didn't just say, "Oh, this character died off screen and we're moving forward." This was very purposeful, very emotional, and opening with a silent full minute. The Marvel logo popped up completely. Chadwick Boseman, um, and completely silent. My entire theater kept that silence. Not a peep. Could hear a pin drop. What did you guys think? How this movie handled the tribute, being a sequel, being a character intro, being an MCU? You know, this thing had a lot to do. This is a huge undertaking as a movie, uh, more than any of the other sequels, just for the sheer fact of the real world implications on top of it. So I'm going to just go around the horn here. I'm going to start with Keith. What did you think? How it handled not only that opening, but all of this weight it had on it. It had to take, and Coogler had to figure it out.
Well, I'm glad they didn't dance around it. I feel like they went full throttle, like into the pain, like into the heaviness, and I think that was really to its benefit, because as the movie played out, to me, it really, although, like, oh, you got your storylines in the movie, Namor, and like this, that, and the other, you got your but it's like the tribute and the somberness played out into the actual movie, and and I'm sure it's intentional, but like, I don't think that I've ever seen, or at least I can't pinpoint another one offhand, but I don't think that I've ever seen a movie that did a tribute to the actor playing the character, and the character, and it work into the actual storyline, as well as this, or even as this was done. I don't know that I've ever seen that done.
Uh,
And
I will
I
say there is one before we continue, and this is
no,
also a
please
shout out to
enlighten me, because I've been trying to really find a movie that
this
did the
is kind of
same
a
thing.
shout out to Brooksy, who we haven't seen in a long time, and that's Fast and Furious. When Paul Walker died, they did actually a pretty wonderful ending where they didn't kill the character off. They had him ride off into the sunset. Now, following that, and he kind of lives in this weird background area. I don't think that's as nice as we have here, where they just it's finalized and everybody gets the grieving process out. But that
But
tribute at the end of the one movie was really well done. That's
Gold
all.
star
but
for
see,
Brooksy. Good catch.
that's
I
what I'm
think
saying.
I think
That's what
for
I'm saying is, I don't,
yeah.
like, they had a full-fledged funeral for the
Mm.
character, to me, and the actor at the same time, and it
The
wasn't
way that
like,
hung in the sky, where you were everybody just like watching, and you wanted to go back because it felt like the casket was giving you that salute, and it just as an audience member, I felt
Yeah.
like I was at there, at
yes,
least in
the
some small way.
the cinematography, the writing, the whatever, but it made you feel like I was literally a part of this ceremony. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm witnessing. I'm not only watching, and that's where the silence in the movie theater comes in. That's why I feel like that's why that was so powerful. It was almost like us all acknowledging that we're there,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what you do at a funeral.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that was I don't know, like, they made. I said it before. I said it with these guys, and I'll say it again. Like, I just really love how they set the whole movie up. In
Mm-hmm.
in my mind, it really fit like a funeral kind of skeleton. Like that was a funeral service, that movie, and very, very, very well done.
Okay. KC, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo a little bit of what Keith said, but shout outs to Brooksy. Good catch on that. Gold star with the Paul Walker comparison. That was nice.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
the
if you
thing
know
that
anything about her, she's all the way. locked
She's
into.
so in, man. Yeah, I've watched a few episodes. She does her homework, so it's pretty awesome. Hey, one of the things that I loved about it is, with some of the stuff that I do in my life and the work that I do and who I care for, I've had to go through a lot of funerals. I've had to be in grief with people. One thing that I really loved about this movie and its depiction of grief is not only that they went straight at it to talk about it, which was really healthy and really important. We don't see a ton of that in our culture, right? Sometimes, occasionally, like Paul Walker, but it's not the number one thing. Um, the bookends of, like you already mentioned, Chris, like the silent beginning, but then also at the end, but then also in the middle, trying to burn the robes, right? But they couldn't get the robe burned. And then a moment of, you've already lost so much stuff. I'm not going to call you a child anymore, right? And the way that we play with grief, or that we interact with grief, is not that you grieve once at the funeral and it's done. And it's not that you're just sad and you cry and it's over. You're also angry and you're depressed and you're in shock. And those things can come and go at different times. And the movie did that well too. And I would not have expected that kind of an experience from this movie. Again, just the little things that were so well done along just that line alone. I was really impressed. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I could say, like, after leaving, I was like, I wasn't know what mood I was in. Was I excited? Was I sad? Was I not liking the movie? I was like, I'm just in this weird headspace when I was walking out. I wanted to clap, but then I'm like, do I clap?
Yeah.
So yeah, I see now that you're explaining it that way, that yeah, the whole movie kind of moves you through that process. All right, James, how do you feel the movie handled all of its weight?
All right, allow me to get a little meta here with from what I know from the original script, from sources. Ryan Coogler was working on the original script that was going to feature Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, but the root of the story it will still have Namor as the antagonist, but it would be more about T'Challa dealing with the snapped, and how although Wakandans came back that were snapped, they still lost a lot of Wakandans in the war against Thanos, and he was gone for 5 years. So in the 5 years, from what I read, was the U.S. and other imperial powers were in a cold war with Wakanda, and now he's back from the snap, and he had to figure out where's his place in Wakanda. That was the original script. Ryan Coogler had asked Chadwick Boseman before he sent it to Kevin Feige in studios to give it a first pass read for any notes and drafts. Chadwick at the time, who was very ill, had declined on reading. He said, "You know what? I don't think you really want to get my opinion right now. Get it past the studios first, and then I'll tell you what I think about the script." And that was the last conversation they had. Knowing that information and knowing what Ryan Coogler had to pivot after his passing, to me, watching the movie, it was so much more that I dissected into it, where I realized, okay, we've talked about grief, we talked about the character, but we didn't talk about the actual cast and the creative talent behind keeping all of this afloat and giving us a product where we can actually do this whole review and dissect it. Ryan Coogler probably had the hardest task out of anyone. Sure, some of the actors who were friends, other than the Boseman family, who probably had to watch this movie and relive a lot of their personal feelings. But Ryan Coogler knew that no matter what he was going to put out there without one of his best friends and colleagues, he would have to do his best. And that cold open, I wasn't ready for that cold open. I thought they would do something different, and they gave it to us, and it was silent. Like Casey mentioned it, it was quiet. And then the grieving process. But despite that, we still had to have a Marvel movie. We still had to have tie-ins to the larger MCU. We still had to have the big, CGI battle at the end. Taking all that into consideration, knowing what the original story would have been with T'Challa, I have to say they did a superb job. They did not just a job to the best of their abilities, but they did it even in spite of the major crutch that they had going into this movie. And I thought this was a blessing of a movie. I'm glad it came around the holidays. This is something I can't wait to rewatch now with my kids from college and have the conversation with them. What did this movie mean to you? And I know we're gonna get into that. There's a lot of different themes in this movie that beyond just the passing of Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa and T'Challa the character's passing. Superb. That's all I can say, Chris.
All right. So we're gonna handle this mostly by character. We're gonna go through the major characters and their arcs and the themes they represent as our kind of our discussion here. So we're gonna start with who I think stole the entire movie, led the cast, even if she was only in 3/4 of the movie, and that was Angela Bassett. Her performance playing this queen, mother, wife who has just lost and lost and lost over and over again, and has to deal with the outside world who thinks that because of all of this happens, they're just going to fall apart and they're going to be able to raid and just strip mine this place. And she's got to step up on her own 2 feet and show them, no, I'm still here. We're still here. And she did that wonderfully. And within the character, not only that, but she has this daughter who doesn't want to accept the same position. Her daughter is basically using science as a getaway from their history, from her emotions, from acceptance, from the loss, and she's trying to counsel her daughter. And then, spoilers, because this is a spoilers podcast, one of the most emotional parts for me is her sacrificing herself, her standing in front of Riri as her, her act of defiance, of I don't even know how to put it. Maybe we'll get to it when we get around, because I had some notes here about Riri here. But I thought she did a wonderful, powerful performance, and all the different emotions and all the different pillars that she landed in this film. Probably one of the best Marvel performances. All right, I'm going to go the other way. James, going to let you go first.
No, you hit it on the head. I don't want to get too long with it, so I'll go with brevity. She kind of reminded me her role and what she did. Obviously, she's the elder statesman actor of the cast, so she probably was the more mentor that folks were going through. Lupita, everyone during the actual production. She reminded me of Curry and the Golden State Warriors last season, where it was pretty clear, and you knew that he was, you had Draymond, Clay, everybody came through when he needed to come through. But Curry, in the deepest, clutchest moments of that Game 4, much like Angela Bassett's, there's an arc of Angela Bassett from the time from the UN speech all the way through the throne room, where every scene that she's in, you understand how serious this is. Even a couple of jokes she had with Shuri by AI, but it doesn't matter. Like, every scene that she in just brings some gravitas to her role in the movie. I'm sure she'll probably be considered for an Oscar when time comes, because at this point in time, movies like this always get to consideration. They may not win, but they always get the nod. And I think that, not that she was gunning for it, but I felt like she, put up her bootstraps and big woman pants and was like, all right, this is my craft. I'm going to give the best performance that I can, in honor of Chadwick Boseman, but also in honor of the craft that we do in acting in Hollywood. Her character, honestly, she wasn't a big character to me in the first movie, because there's a lot of moving parts in the first movie. But she was, again, the Curry of this ensemble cast in Black Panther 2.
KD wishes he was this. All right, speaking of...
KD's like, never mind, we'll
Casey,
get to the next pod.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll keep it short too, just because what James said is what I think too. I was blown away that she was as powerful as she was at times when she needed to be, but then she was really tender at moments when she needed to. There were times when she was angry, when she sent off her general, where you didn't want to agree with her, or you weren't sure, so she played the conflicted anger and pain very well also. I kept watching this going, holy cats, this is a tour de force. And it was just really enjoyable to watch her.
All right, well, next we're going to talk about Shuri because she's supposed to be the main character in this movie. Now, oddly, she sort of plays co-lead, if that, in the first half to Angela Bassett, but then once we get that second shock to our system and we have to mourn the Queen halfway through, Shuri gets to kind of take over a bit. Now, Letitia Wright did a really good job. She really did handle everything. She also had to do a lot of emotional range in this movie. She had a hero's journey to go through, where she had to deny and then accept the role as being the Black Panther. She had her character had to go through this issue of loss and reconnecting with tradition versus her science nature, and also a revenge arc, relatively small but sold by an amazing surprise appearance for me towards the end. All right.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the Letitia Wright Shuri? KC, I'll let you go first.
Chris, let me steal this first real quick, Chris. Sorry. This reminded me of the Kobe Bryant performance in the 2000 Lakers championship. Whereas Shaq was obviously Angela Bassett. Robert Horry was M'Baku.
Obviously.
The
big pillar
Robert
in the middle.
Horry was M'Baku. Everett Wass was Rick Fox. I think that it's understated that she stepped up more. Because you guys remember before 2000 Kobe, he was showboating Kobe. He was missed 6 shots in Utah Kobe. People thought, oh, this guy's the next. How many Harold Miner, how many fake Jordans we've seen? That was Kobe's legacy up until the 2000 finals. Letitia Wright, let's be honest, she wasn't considered to be a renowned actress after the first movie. Then came the COVID anti-vaxxing stuff that got around. Then she got injured on set. The production was delayed for months. So she wasn't carrying a lot of weight as far as an actress, much less the character from the first movie. This movie slapped the hell out of me. Like Shaq gets fouled out. Kobe does the I got this overtime in the Pacers. Jalen Rose, that was Letitia Wright. Like, to me, I didn't believe that the actress had the range, much less the ability to perform the way she performed in this movie. I mean, there's still things that I want to discuss even after we're off the pod with my daughter. I want to get her take from it, from a woman's point of view. But I was very impressed with her acting. I mean, we all going to give Angela Bassett her rose as is justified. But Letitia Wright deserves her daisies too. Like, she's up and coming. Like, I like to see her in more work now in Hollywood, not just superhero work. Now that I know that she can really freaking act, I want to see her in other performances in Hollywood, which wouldn't have been the case before I saw this movie.
All right, Casey.
I'm gonna let James roll with the Letitia Wright and that bit. I want to come in a slightly different angle here for just a second. I think James said this, or he sent it to me in a text somewhere else, but this poor family is worse than the Kennedys. Okay? T'Chaka,
Don't forget her cousin, who was king also. He got birthed.
In a very short period of time. So I've got a hot take for you.
We got to talk about that.
Right, yes, which we will get to. I need 30 seconds to rant about Killmonger at some point in the pod, all right? But here's my hot take. I think Shuri as a character will be more interesting. I'm more interested in seeing what happens next. Because she doesn't have the diplomacy of the Queen. She isn't the Black Panther that T'Challa was, but she's going to make it her own, right? She did that with her suit as well. There's this lingering threat that's out there. And if other nations were coming for the vibranium before, because they thought things were weakened, the whole generation above is gone. Now, I'm way more interested now in seeing what happens with the character of Shuri going forward. Thought this was great. Thought the actress was great. Letitia Wright, yep, everything James said, I echo all that. But the character and everything that's happened, I want to see what is there now. Now what happens going forward?
I liked her performance. I liked Letitia. I like the character, but like to me, uh, the Chadwick was still the star of the show. I think his presence loomed into all of those scenes. I think his overall presence in the movie stayed there and was very palpable. I think with her, to me, I just looked at her as more of a conduit to that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because like she really like her story was still just about dealing with that grief and
Mm-hmm.
you know being able to fight her baser nature and you know so I just it was still even her battle and the her part in the movie was still about him to me. Um, I would, but like KC, like she definitely interested me. I understand what this product was, and it's kind of like a one-off. Even though that there's Marvel storyline and thing and stuff in the movie, but this movie was really more so tribute than Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I am definitely interested. She has got me interested now in seeing her in a feature role in a Marvel movie.
All right. Where they
That's
get
not
to kind of for
that's
escapism.
not a tribute. And then I feel like I could dive into her a little bit more. Like I need her to have her own her own storyline that's about her. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in knowing more about her.
Okay. Um, let's do this one thing, and then we will take a break. And that's where Casey wanted to go, and where I wanted to go too, because I found this really interesting, and it really sold me on Shuri's revenge feelings arc that was in there. Right, the replacement for being just, hey, you're just going to be Black Panther like everybody else is Black Panther, right? And she's like, no, that's not me. And she didn't know how to make that part of her. But then the loss of her mother, she's like, oh, I can use this as a means to an end. So her going into the spirit realm, whatever that one's called,
Ancestral plane.
ancestral
Ancestral
plane,
plane.
and instead of seeing her mother, her brother, her the rest of the ancestors, she's
Spirit world.
sorry, Avatar last. All right,
She's like World 4-2 in Mario.
that's right.
But go ahead, sorry, Chris.
But she runs into none other than Killmonger himself, Michael B. Jordan,
Tough.
landing a awesome 3-minute powerhouse performance with some great pyrotechnics, like he's an 80s rock band. He just came in there and blew the doors off and said, and it sold me on her character,
Andrew Wiggins,
where
man.
her
He was Andrew
where
Wiggins.
her
Game
character was
6.
feeling, and that whole
His,
scene. It's
his
my number
swag
two
was
scene of the
impeccable.
entire movie. Number two scene in the entire movie. It was amazing. It was powerful, and it told you so much more than even. And sure, Letitia Wright did a great job. She was selling the emotions, but that was just like another level. This is how angry she is.
Yeah.
She's just as angry as he was. Now, the last thing I want to say before I let you guys talk about it. In the first
Before we go to break.
in the first movie, the king was willing to sacrifice members of the royal family to protect Wakanda, to hide Wakanda from the rest of the world. But now we have kind of the opposite. Is we have Wakanda, the queen, both the queen in her final act, and Shuri, the princess, whatever you want to call her, at that point, deciding to save a young American black girl, a la more what Killmonger was trying to do, from outsiders. Even though she wasn't Wakanda, putting Wakanda squarely in the path of danger
Ooh.
to protect.
I don't know if I agree with that take.
So she is like almost not only is she using the anger of Killmonger, but the change that Killmonger kind of pushed, even the it kind of it stuck, and it stuck in the heads, and they did it, and I thought that was a great another reason why the Killmonger appearance was great for me is.
Chris, I have a different take on that.
All
Real
right, go
quick.
ahead.
I see that more as T'Challa's legacy, because T'Challa was the one that released the outreach program of Wakanda, where they're outreaching to other folks of similar mind and culture throughout the world. Not that Riri was involved in the outreach program, but I felt like when the Queen heard about the story, or heard about the scientists of Namor, she dispatched Okoye, and Okoye recruited Shuri to go with her. The whole take of that, my opinion was okay. They understand now there's other scientists involved around the world that are doing things, and the need to protect them. I didn't think it was more like Killmonger's legacy. I thought it was more T'Challa's
But
legacy.
it was
When he was like, "Where were we all when we?"
But
but it was
Killmonger,
Killmonger kicked that off.
legacy. It's Killmonger's legacy because he was the one who got them thinking like that.
Mm-hmm.
He got T'Challa thinking
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Not all of them.
Well,
He got
T'Challa was the
thinking like
king,
that, yes.
so you got I'm all thinking like that. Like the king, everybody's gonna fall in line behind the king. Like
Right.
that's yeah. Like whether you want to or not. Like now, like yeah. Like he tried to usurp the throne and this, that, and the other, but like he had a point. Like we're sitting here in this
Yeah.
palace and we're not.
It's like when
And there's a plight going on and we're not helping. So like I think it was very much Killmonger who was the catalyst to that happening. Because they would have been very much fine
was
being
good.
closed off. Continuing.
Yeah, I think he was a spark in T'Challa's brain that got him that UN speech at the end of the first movie when he was like, making bridges as opposed to burn. Like I think he took parts of Killmonger's philosophy, not the whole rage and destroy everyone, destroy all colonizers. He was like, no, we've got to, yeah. So to me, that's a legacy that stuck with Shuri and his mother. That eventually all of Wakanda, which is what we have with Riri, But man, she's the Achilles heels of this movie. So let's take a break now.
Right.
Chris,
Casey wanted to.
Yeah, like how.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Casey. Apologies, Casey.
Come on, colonizer.
My whole rant is Killmonger is the coolest villain that we've had in the MCU since Loki. Actually, better than Loki, but since Loki came along, Killmonger is the one that you could be most empathetic for. You get why he's angry. You want him in some ways to succeed. He's fairly realistic. Like he had to train to get to where he was. Michael B. Jordan is awesome. Killmonger should have never died. He should be in the MCU now. He should be somebody who's got a redemption arc. You could run a movie or two through him. It is the biggest travesty in the MCU
I feel like
that Killmonger is out except for a 3-minute cameo in this movie. He deserved better.
Wow.
Get it off your chest, Casey. Get it off your chest.
I don't think we have time to argue this one. We'll let Casey have the last word. And we'll go to a break, and we'll be right back with some more hot takes. Welcome back, everybody. Now that we've gone through the big two. Now.
Woo, hot rants.
Hot rants. Speaking of hot.
I had to drink some tea after that one.
Zesty.
I'm never going to get invited back on this podcast ever again.
Never.
Had to shoot my shot. Thank you.
Too hot for here. Too hot to handle. All right. Speaking of too hot to handle, someone who's made a big splash out in the world after his appearance. None other than the mighty ankle-winged one himself, Namor. All right. So Namor is very interesting what they've done with this character. So we kind of have to talk about how he is not, he is and he's not the original Namor, in the sense that he's got the little ankle wings, he's got the green shorts, he's got the pointy ears, but he's also not the son of a Scottish elf or a Scottish sailor and an Atlantean in the way that classic Marvel comics love to do. They love redheaded Scots and water women, right? So
True. Facts.
what they
Facts.
did is they gave, and this is something I've noticed. Sorry, I don't mean to hit on DC in the middle of this, but something DC really hasn't done, and that is they gave culture to the character. Is instead of just saying Atlantis, which is this mythical whatever place with whatever culture or just cool looking buildings, which was really cool looking. Atlantis was really cool looking in DC, but it didn't feel like anything specific. It didn't give anybody watching it any connectivity. Whereas this, they specifically tailored it to a culture and they built him around that, separating him from Atlantis. The home is now called oh, I got him in the wrong.
Telecon.
Uh,
Telecon.
he's an indigenous. He comes from an indigenous culture. That before the Spaniards colonized them, and they ran away with the help of a plant that they found that had grown from vibranium.
Vibranium enriched underwater
Right.
soil.
They ran underwater.
It's the same. What you call it as the heart.
It is
Yeah.
the same
heart,
stuff. The heart-shaped
The only
herb.
difference is besides the
Heart-shaped
water,
herb.
it's different gods. The Wakandas have Bast
The gods
as their
have
god,
nothing to do
and
with it.
Telecons have like.
That's what they. That's,
Well, hold
Wait, he
on.
wants to
If you
talk about
watch
Thor: Love and
Eternals
Thunder.
and you watch,
Yes.
yeah, Thor: Love and
if we watch
Thunder
the
and
Eternals,
Moon Knight.
This is this is the movie product though. What cats need to stop doing is stop dogmatically attaching the storylines of the comics to the. No, this is a whole different universe, bro.
No,
Like those.
but we're talking about we're talking about the MCU movies. Yes, Thor: Love and Thunder and Moon Knight gave us these depiction of these gods as being characters in this universe
Yes,
and impact
characters in the universe,
humans.
but those flowers grew from the vibranium.
Right. They grew
The
from the
gods had
vibranium.
nothing to do with them.
Yes,
They ascribed that to them.
Mm-hmm.
to their gods.
So, very cool in that sense. Also, he is the protector of his people. He's a mutant. He specifically calls himself a mutant, by the way.
He said mutant, yeah.
And
Second
he's possibly about as strong as the Hulk as he tosses around some helicopters.
Baku.
The music.
Strong as the Hulk.
Sorry.
And just the last thing is specifically his job is to protect his people and keep the surface world away. And he
Kukulkan.
God, and he blames Wakanda and their outreach for drawing in people. And he sets this whole thing off when he says, "Go get the scientists, kill them, we're good." And then they obviously decide that's not what they're gonna do. So what did we think about Namor? Tenoch Huerta I think he did a great job.
Even better, yeah. You said it better the second time.
More confidence. You got to speak with confidence with these languages, right? And I have none.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Keith.
Butcher it with confidence.
Butcher it with confidence. That's right.
Well, I wanted to make a point on the usage. Firstly, the usage of the Mayans.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was very multi-layered because as a people, history is unfolded. Like it was like millions of them living in South America, and they just disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know how the race, how those people died, or if they died, or where they went, or what. Millions of people disappeared. So I like that they used them. They picked them as the culture for this because, like, now you got a story in the actual history of the people. I like that. That was man. Marvel keeps giving up the hits, man. Marvel's very tricksy. I like Marvel, but like that's one of the things that immediately stood out to me because I was wondering first. I was like, how'd you choose which culture to use? Like, there's several cultures at the same time. Like, but that is what stood out to me as I was thinking about it, and like, that's how you explain millions of people disappearing. they became Atlanteans.
Right. And it's nice that they're kind of sister to Wakanda in the sense that um, as the Spanish came over and had passed smallpox and were killing the people and they ran away, they sort of get this. They now get to both grow without the colonizers.
And not
Right.
only that, if you really want to get even more layered, there are statues, African featured statues in South America that are thousands of years old before Christopher Columbus. So like there's really already been a African Mayan connection for over 1,000 years already. So true. Like without even pushing those things in the movie, like if you're a person of any intellect and intelligence and you know some stuff, like that already wraps you more into the storyline that they're creating. And they don't even have to say anything about those elements.
Yeah, between Shang-Chi,
you're using your own knowledge to craft
Black
the rest
Panther,
of the
now Namor, Marvel has really said, hey, we're not just going to you make it a Marvel world, we're going to let some actual culture, some actual real world culture seep in here. All right. So, James, did you get to talk about Namor? Or I don't think you've talked about him yet.
Yeah, I'll be real quick. So, talking about the Ludwig, I might be killing his last name, so I won't pronounce it. A college buddy of Ryan Coogler, who's been doing all of his movies as a composer. I found out reading an article today, which I shared with some of you, that he actually went into like certain areas where there's Lagos, Nigeria, or in Mesoamerica to find old, ancient antiquities instruments that may or may have been used during that time period of the 1500s and 1600s. And he implemented new sounds into the soundtrack of this movie for certain scenes. That's research.
Right.
That's, again, not to give DC straight shots here, but that's like...
Meaning you didn't use
the
Rolling Stones Blackout or whatever the song they used.
No, I didn't use Spotify or whatever it is. I actually use my gift Spotify and try to connect it with the culture. To Keith's point, like, you don't even know that you're listening to something that could be closely tied to an ancient civilization. You just, wow, this is cool. Is this on Spotify? Until you do the research and realize, oh shit. And then lastly, because Casey brought it up and stole my thunder, I had it as notes. Kyrie Irving 2016.
Oh my God.
This dude.
Oh my God, he nailed it.
Yes. So LeBron came out game one. LeBron did all the heavy lifting. That's Angela Bassett. That's you can put them all in one basket. Namor, Kyrie Irving, when it came down to it, that game 6 shot over Curry was what got him to win the championship. And that was Neymar in the third act of this movie because obviously Angela Bassett was no longer involved. Shuri's going through her grief or her dark side Jedi thing. But Namor was consistent with his plans all the way to the final scene when he's doing his little fan-made art picture. And he was like, they're playing Uno, I'm playing chess. Wakanda's going to come to me eventually. And the way his voice, the actor, he doesn't look like Michael Phelps underwater, which I totally didn't care about, unlike some people on the internet. This guy doesn't look like a swimmer. Like, who cares? Anyway, but his presence on film felt like a menace. Mm-hmm. Like, even when he stood toe-to-toe to M'Baku, I felt, okay, this dude is like
that punch to M'Baku's chest. I was like,
even that missed punch. There was a Zack Snyder moment when he
if he was as strong as the Hulk,
he's not. Sorry. He's not Hulk. But there was a right cross he threw at Shuri, and Ryan Coogler decided for one moment to go Zack Snyder, and he slow-mo'd that right cross, and you see this dude's back muscles. I was like, oh, I believe this dude. He's menacing, not just his acting and his voice, his physicality too. Kyrie Irving. Thanks, Casey. You stole that from me.
All right.
Nah.
So I'm gonna say this.
We'll wait till we get to that character.
I have watched Black Adam twice in about 3 days here.
Black Adam's getting a lot of straight shots.
Sorry, it has to. It just came out, and after watching it after Black Panther, it tells me how much how amazing Namor is, because Namor shows up and he's kind of calm but menacing. But then he gets Shuri, he captures Shuri, brings her to his world, and he's friendly and he's nice with his people, obviously, but he's also like sits down and has a conversation like a normal person, like, and they're kind of getting along, they're understanding each other, and then his changes slightly when she says no, like there's like these subtle changes. And then my third favorite scene of the movie, when he comes up and he threatens Angela Bassett, and he's close, and they have this close-up shot, and he's in her face, and you talk about menacing. One of the scariest, not scary from like jump fright,
It's intense.
but
It's intense,
his
yeah.
intensity, and you can feel he means every word. Wonderful performance. The fights, he did a great job in the fighting, but his sheer presence made that character work. Whew.
Yeah, I wasn't sold with the trailers with him, but yeah, he's good.
Well,
He's good.
they really held back on showing you him, which I liked. And my shot at Black Adam was they didn't let The Rock be a full character and emote. He was angry or angry serious. Like that was like his two positions.
Well, so it begs the question though, Chris, right? Like, if you put The Rock into the role of Namor, do you think he could?
Well, that
Hell no.
Right, like because isn't The Rock The Rock, and pretty much like or would he have been able to pull it off? That's my question.
I don't think so. Like, I like The Rock in a lot of his movies. I think he can play other. And we've seen him in family movies. We've seen him in comedies. We've seen him in action adventure. We've seen him in.
And sorry, Brooks, he's better than Vin Diesel. I've said it.
And he is better than Vin Diesel. So we've seen him do some range. And I think he can do some of that quiet intensity. But I don't know what the difference. I don't think he has as much subtle range as our newcomer here. I don't think he has the same thing.
I mean, I feel like if The Rock was Namor,
Right.
I would have been like, oh,
But also there's a directorial thing
Right,
here. Like I didn't see much out of any of the people, any of the characters in Black Adam, whereas this movie was all about characters with full range, full character arcs, full stories, full histories.
Yeah, the Rock shtick is in action sequences. You could feel some sort of pathos with him in an action sequence. But when it's just like him talking to his people, that conversation between Namor and Shuri when they were in the underwater cave, I could not see The Rock pulling that conversation. I could not believe The Rock would feel for a civilization of people the way that I felt Namor did. I couldn't believe anything that was like an actual, acting one-on-one, dialogue.
There's an interesting scene, the one at the very end, where he's painting the wall, and Namora comes up to him and is upset that he kneeled. And he doesn't turn around and raise his voice. He's not angry, but there's something in the way he said, basically like, don't worry about it, I got this covered, that you believed him. That you were like, oh yeah, dude, I got you. Okay. Like,
the dude is painting a mural.
I didn't take it that way.
Deep in itself.
I didn't take it that way.
How did you take it, Key?
How did you take it?
It sounded kind of defeated to me. Like, it sounded more of the like you got your ass kicked in front of your wife, and you're telling your wife, no, babe. Like, no. I let him do that on purpose so I could get the upper. That's what it sounded like to me. How do you know when the people up top are going to come for Wakanda and this, that, and the other, and they're going to come? When is that? How do you know? No, you got your ass kicked.
Yeah,
Bro,
I will say,
ass kicked, and you're thinking twice about really going back there and handling the Wakandans again. So this
But
is a better and safer route. I'm that
I
I did not. I at no point did I take like, oh, he had some like what you call it seriousness in his voice. Immediately it sounded like he was copping a plea.
I will say, I get. Shuri had one shot. He now understands his weakness because he's never fought anybody that has thought enough about his weakness to show
He
it.
probably didn't even know his weakness.
He couldn't have.
He didn't even know his weakness.
He lived in 500 years underwater. He never
He was
really
like
had to
fighting
fight
sharks and
anyone.
shit. Like that's what he's practicing on.
Yeah. Now he's on land and he realizes,
Yeah,
oh shit,
and so
there
so
is a
all of
weakness
that,
being on land.
so all of that is what I'm thinking about in that statement when he's talking to when he's talking to the chick who's basically like, dude, where's your nuts?
He's thinking my nuts are gonna be when I this aqua suit that I'm about to build, and then when Wakanda needs help,
Like you,
I'll be there for them.
you wasn't there when they was trying to dry my nuts though.
Right.
You wasn't with me shooting in the gym, bro. Like, but yeah, I totally
Because
did not get that whole like.
I feel like she holds this.
All right.
This,
All right, we got to move on. All right. So, what did you guys think of the MacGuffin Avenger as Marvel Phase 4 has wanted to do? They have created a MacGuffin,
Oh shit.
which
Here
in
we
this
go.
case,
Nit-picking time.
Riri Williams, otherwise known as Ironheart. I thought the actress did a fine job with her minimal role. She didn't have a lot to do. She just had to be quirky and smart. And
urban.
yeah, exactly.
No me gusta. No me gusta.
I dig it. We all need representation. I'm hood, so like it's whatever. But like I look at those performances very intently to see if like are you poking fun or is just the character? Like I just want to make sure it didn't look like fun was being poked at her being urban. So
this was the Achilles heel of the movie for me, Chris. I did not like her character. First watch, second watch, half watch, no me gusta.
Yeah,
Iron trash.
It's a tough one because
Uncle Ruckus.
Obviously the MCU.
I am who I am.
And the giant robot that controls the MCU has told them that you have to take a small child and put them in danger. That's gonna be your movie's gonna be around.
And we need a toy. We need a toy that we can sell. We need it out.
Oh my god!
For Christmas.
The worst. The worst.
You know what would be cool? If Riri and MJ met up at MIT.
I was gonna say, I think they got to do something because they're all at the same school.
That's a spinoff that I think like would have like quality merit.
Casey, what do you have to say about Riri Williams?
you want to do it, James, or you want me?
She is the future of the
I wanna
MCU.
hear you. Hold on. Like Maxine Waters, I reclaim my time to the gentleman from Michigan.
Do you guys remember?
Gentleman from Michigan.
Let's go back to mid '90s hip hop. Let's go back to mid '90s hip hop and women rappers. Okay, not a, but there are a few.
Salt and pepper. Salt and pepper.
We're going back to before she went on a diet and slimmed out. Mm-hmm. We're going back to bigger, prouder, Missy Elliott. Remember Missy Elliott? Remember the rap? Remember the Sakatu Sakatu video? Okay. That's what Ironheart looks like. I want to know who wore shoulder pads, walking around looking like Mega Man. Who wore it better? That's what I want to know.
I can never unthink it now.
And the CGI looks just the same. The CGI looks just as it was 20 years ago.
Wow.
Look, it wasn't the only bad suit. Those Nightmare Angels or whatever the stupid ass name.
Yeah,
Bug Eye,
but
terrible.
I gave those a
Terrible. No,
pass. I gave
those
those a
were just
pass.
as bad. They were just as bad. Those two designs were terrible.
But they admitted it was bad in the movie. She was like, how ugly does this get? It was like a joke inside the movie. This is
Yeah,
trash.
but if you
We gotta
joke
sell
about it, then you
toys.
gotta make it
We don't
better.
like it. Meanwhile, Riri's uniform was like the hottest thing. Even her first suit was trash. When the cops came in, oh shit, she got an Iron Man suit on. I was like, no, that's not.
I don't think you ever got a good look at it. It looked like just like a shoulder with shoulder rockets and some gloves. It was okay because it was more like an engineer.
Mega Man.
Yeah, the second
It
one,
looked like the NES Mega Man.
Got
Right.
a big arm.
The
Or, I mean,
8-bit.
hand instead of an arm.
8-bit man.
right?
Yeah, she did the same thing with the droid, and dude,
It was
to me, all right, I know we're joking.
It was Metroid.
We're joking, but in my opinion, Metroid, my bad. Yeah, you're right.
It
Metroid,
was
Super
Metroid.
Metroid. Her character to me, I said was Achilles' heels of the movie. I'm sure the actress is a phenomenal actress, but everything about her introduction, her tech, her backstory that was undeveloped. Like at some point, oh, so her stepfather was the one that kind of gave her the idea in 3. They even the scene of her being Tony Stark building up the iron. I'm like, miss me with that. Like I'm just not a fan of her character. Kudos to having diversity and inclusion, but an L for trying to get me to like a character which I really thought was underdeveloped and we could have done without in this movie. We
It
really
is
could
just
have.
a build up for the
You
future.
could have given me a character where somebody in Shield or Sword or any other Disney. We have like 50 million Disney Plus shows. One of these organizations could have had a scientist that built a detector, and then you tie me to that character who may have been black or may not.
But if
Hispanic, Asian, whatever.
But Shuri responds to her because she's smart, she's young, and she's black. You need all
but
three.
Understand that Shuri responded, but when she said young, gifted, and black, I guess they don't say that in Wakanda. And Shuri goes, her answer was like, no, you being young and gifted, your elders don't see this. So she didn't even talk about the black part of her character. So to me, in Shuri's eyes, her ethnicity had nothing to do with the fact that she wanted to save her. So you could have given me a young Asian kid
It's not just
who
Shuri.
was in
It's
Shield
not just Shuri.
or Sword.
It's not just Shuri. Like, the world is watching this movie. The person writing this movie is writing this movie for the world. Not like so. Like it's not about Suri recognizing her blackness. It's about the viewer recognizing her blackness. That's really what it's about. The projection of that isn't for Shuri. It's everything for Suri.
And I get that, which
It's
is
for the
what makes
little
this
black
even
girl-
worse because I didn't
it's
think
for
it
the
was
little black girl in
organic.
the hood.
I don't think it was
The little
organic.
black girl in the hood who doesn't know, like you know what I'm saying. Like,
And
that's
this
who
this
that
is
girl
why I needed Serena's take on Shuri because I don't think she likes Riri's character either. But I want her take for her to defend that.
I think it's
character.
less that her
It's not even
characters.
about defending it. It's about understanding the why of it. Like it's not like I'm sure every Asian person who looks at a black person in a what you call movie, like like why does this person have to be there? The person's not there for you. That's like that black person isn't there for you. It isn't there for that character. It's there for somebody.
I also reclaim my extra minutes to the
I'm
gentleman
not
from
being way off
Michigan
here.
over
I
there.
think that this character suffers a little bit from this movie covers so much ground, right? We got the introduction and origin story of Namor. In any other MCU, that's the main plot line deal, right? But we've got everything with T'Challa. We have the Queen die. We have Shuri doing her story. We've got Namor. We've got a cameo from Killmonger, and we've got the Ironheart stuff. I mean, that doesn't cover even everything. The fact that we're here talking about this movie, giving it an A+ to an A- or wherever, somewhere in there, and it does all of that. And the complaint is we're like, I don't know, this character's not as developed. I think, again, it speaks to how good this movie is. That's the biggest thing. That, like, man.
Look,
That's fair. I did start by saying nitpicking time when we brought up.
For me,
Riri.
number one, she had some good comedic timing. Her "Am I being recruited?" line, I love that. I thought that was hysterical. But if you look at what we've gotten in Phase 4, America Chavez, Love from Love and Thunder, the
What's her name from
Wanda's
Shang-Chi? The
children,
comedic.
Shakchil. I can't remember the actress's
That's
name.
who she reminded me of.
Yeah,
Riri reminded me of. Oh,
and we thought she was
what's her name?
underdeveloped, and she had a lot more screen time. And we got more background from her, but they still didn't. But again, it was Wanda and Strange and Stranges and the other Stranges, and then you got this kid shoved in there as the MacGuffin, and they did that here as well. And I think that's under. If you were to build this movie outside of the MCU and it was just a sequel to Black Panther within its own thing, this character wouldn't be there, or they wouldn't be important. But because you have a giant universe, this is that the fluff you have to apply, the extra you have to include to keep everything churning. And I'll deal with that because I like the fact that I've been a giant shared universe. So I'm going to deal with the fact that I've an underdeveloped character that's going to get a Disney Plus show. And then when I watch that and I can like or dislike the character, up until then I go, whatever, she's just there as a kid to be in trouble for people to save or try to kill. That's really what she is right now. All right, so
Chris,
our last 15 minutes, because we are running short on time here. I don't want to take forever.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Please.
Mike is gonna,
I know.
Really
There are
mad at me.
3 characters I want to mention, and I'll give you guys a chance to talk about whether you want one or talk about all of them, but in a short span of each, because they all had strong positions in this movie. So we had M'Baku, who got to play sort of a more mindful a counselor almost in this. He also has wonderful lines. He had the ball-headed demon line, "Come and eat it in the carrot,"
Bars.
and
Bars.
the "We live in the mountains. Do you not think we have books?" I love that line.
Books.
The way Winston Duke says his lines, like something about his tone. I love it. Okoye had quite a big role here. A fall from grace, a great one of the better battles in the movie where she gets her ass kicked. That was great battle scene. Plus, she was part of my favorite scene in the movie, which was her getting fired. Sorry, but
that was a powerful scene, though.
that was a powerful scene.
That was one of the most powerful scenes.
And then
in the movie,
Nakia, who in the first one was kind of a very side character, now very important, gets to be a spy, infiltrate the underwater kingdom, and also a very surprise ending. So all of these characters, is there one that you wanted to talk about more, or just give a quick speech about all 3? I'm going to go around the horn. James, I'll let you go first.
I want to be quick because I gotta hear Keith and Casey's point. All 3 solid picks. I'm glad that you picked those 3. They help balance the rest of the movie for different reasons. M'Baku actually evolved more from the first movie. It's just purely comic relief to, like you said, the counselor. Love fellow West Indian from Brooklyn.
From Rochester.
Well, he went to school of Rochester, but West Indian. Also, he's been around since Persons of Interest, show that Mike and I used to watch back in the day, where he was a very one-dimensional actor. His first acting, Yale freaking drama school, that he met Lupita Nyong'o, who plays Nakia, the second character he mentioned. She didn't have a major role like the first movie, but I did like her role in this movie, and obviously the big twist at the end. And then Okoye, I think between the 3, I'm going to give Okoye the top spot, 1, 2, 3, because of that one scene and throughout the entire movie. Other than Angela Bassett and Shuri, I think she was like the Dennis Rodman to Pippen and Jordan. She was part of the big 3, the Ray Allen to Pierce and Garnett. And
Who's the
did a
Steve
great
Kerr
job.
hitting
I
the
love
winning
actress.
shot?
That would be Everett Ross. No,
Oh, I wasn't even going to bring up Everett
That's
Ross.
a joke. That was
joke. Probably
no. There was no Yeah. So yeah, I think I like all 3, but I definitely want to hear the next 2 gentlemen.
All right.
Starting from the gentleman from Newark. New Jersey.
Wait, who's that?
Who's
Who's from
that?
New Jersey?
That's Keith.
Keith?
Who's from New Jersey?
I'm not from the gentleman
You said
residing
you
currently.
said from. I not.
No, my bad, not
And I will
from.
never.
The gentleman from Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
The gentleman from Brooklyn.
Excellent.
There you go, Keith.
Excellent. Because I was waiting for that person to talk too. Gotta be respectful. The Okoye, number one. Although I do feel a little bit like I didn't get closure with her and that her battling that the Mayan enforcer.
Yeah, I wanted more.
I really
of that.
needed.
The warrior, yeah.
Like they fought twice, but like I feel like they didn't. They didn't really get to like end it till one of them yielded. Like I needed more closure with that battle with their little.
It's because she was stuck
back
in that
and forth.
stupid suit. I hated that suit
Yeah.
Um.
Mm.
Wait. Who? This movie. This movie was about strong black women. This movie was. This movie was carried by women. It really. It to me. It definitely was where the first black woman, the Black Panther, was probably something more of a masculine. Um, like, yay, we got a superhero. Like, oh, this new guy. It's focused on the action and the this, that, and the other. But I think this one was very much more focused on the inner strength of these women, and they were the dominant characters. Like even the characters getting the most screen time on screen, like they were the majority of the movie, and I like that. I like that in that. Like I also feel that women are the backbones of our things, like how we emotionally respond to grief and the funeral. I think that women in a general sense like definitely step in front of our families in terms of being the ones who lead those emotional things, and I think it was only right that they led in this movie. I say all that to say M'Baku, I think he had a far far smaller, less impactful role. And weirdly, I feel like it was also very different than the first movie. Um, I didn't see him as the brash, uh, headstrong, whatever that he presented as in the first movie. This movie, he definitely presented, like you were saying, a little bit more wise. He- but again, his screen time was very, very limited and minimal. I don't think that he was comic relief in the first one. I don't think he was
He
comic
was the
relief.
challenger. Like he was the
Yeah,
one
yeah.
who.
He was the
Yeah.
family antagonist. Like you,
Yeah,
that,
we can argue that another time,
but yeah,
okay.
I don't think that he was. I don't think it was. I get what you're saying, but I don't think it was so much comic relief. And definitely not. And even though like he may have had a comic line, I don't think it was so much comic relief. But like, I feel like all the males outside of Namor were, and to a degree, Namor were were the supporting characters of this particular movie because the women were the standouts. The women were the acting standouts. The women were the storyline standouts. Like they any woman who came into the to the movie, big or small, their part, like it was about them, and they had it. Riri, this and like whether whoever you focused in on, it was probably generally going to be a woman, and I like so like I actually kind of dug that about the movie, and with my feelings about it being a funeral. Um, but that being I feel like because of that, Mbaku had a smaller role, and it was to me fine. I was fine with that. I did I liked how his character had changed to a little bit more like a softer, wiser M'Baku, but I also thought it was probably unnecessary.
I want to
And
see
the
more
third
of
guy,
Baku. I think we just need more of him.
yeah, I would like to have seen more,
Yeah.
but I don't see how any more of him would have been able to fit into this movie.
Not
Uh,
here. I think he needs a
Yeah.
show.
ooh, I wouldn't mind like some sort of.
Well, there is supposed to be a show. It's supposed to be a Wakanda Disney Plus show
Who
in
was the third?
2023
What
or
was the third?
2024.
What was the
It was
third?
Okoye. It was Nakia.
Nakia, Lupita Nyong'o's character.
I feel she had a bigger role in the first movie.
Which is what I said. Did I say? Yeah, I said that.
No, I thought you said it was
Mm,
smaller in the first movie, but to me,
I thought
I
it was
feel like
smaller in the first one.
No,
no, no,
I said M'Baku
she had
was
much
small in
more
the first
screen
movie.
time in the first movie. Much more screen time.
Yeah,
Much more
she
screen
did.
time.
She did.
From
I'll
the
have to go
time
back
She
that,
was
and
in
look.
almost every T'Challa moment. Yeah.
yeah, much
Maybe
more
just
screen
that
time.
final scene of her being spoilers, the
But
mom
this
to
movie
his
made her
son.
seem more important, though.
It really sits, and she
Yeah.
had that Encanto scene where she, as she goes through,
Encanto.
where she's
That was
Encanto.
funny.
so.
Which I didn't know till Keith illuminated me that she's actually grew up in Mexico. Was she Spanish speaking?
Well, yeah, she was born in Mexico. She lived there till she was 3. Her father
She's
was
not,
a dignitary. Uh, yeah,
but
government
she's
official.
Nigerian and Mexican, right? Isn't
Nah,
she's
Kenyan.
Kenyan and Mexican?
Mm.
But she
Lupita,
lived. I guess she was born in
Lupita's my
Mexico, so
like
she's technically.
Lupita's my secret joy. I know lots about Lupita, yo.
The lawyer rings and Lupita. That's all you know. Hey, real quick before we get
Well, Casey hasn't gone
before
yet.
we get to
Wait, Casey ain't
KC,
go yet.
I know. Before we get to KC, hold on. Just before we get to KC, one thing that Keith brought up that I had asked Chris to put in the agenda, and I know we didn't talk about it, but I have to now. I'm not ranting. I don't have
Why
to
you
sing
have to?
nuclear mode that Casey had earlier, but the whole idea of the women in this movie being front and center and it triggering a lot of folks, particularly black males. I'm not saying every
Oh,
male,
now see, this is a
but
bigger
I
topic.
scour the internet.
Ugh.
I scour social media. I'm sorry because I've been chatting with folks that I know on the YouTube and other content creating. To me, it bothers me, and I'm hoping that after the movie gets more repeat viewings and reviews come out, that people's minds maybe it may not be changed, but actually get more open. Because regardless whether you feel like as a black male in America that you feel bothered that this is supposed to be your hero, now you've lost him. Now all you have is Falcon and Rhodes, and you lost your Black Panther. You got a woman Panther. I'm like, this is the same argument that we've had for like decades with Star Wars and other. Like, we need to get out of eating our own as geeks and fans and appreciating good content and good creative stories out there. And then you can still have your personal beliefs about certain things, and I get it. But to go out there and spend 90 minutes to 3 hours on a podcast to bring down this movie because of one aspect of it that you think is triggered against you as a black male and social media, to me that bothers me. And I'm not calling anyone, I'm just saying that this stuff is something that I'm hoping that the next couple of months after the movie goes through its whole review and Academy Awards, we go back and appreciate who Ryan Coogler, a black male from Oakland, highly educated, what he put together with an ensemble cast of, yes, mostly women, but people of all diverse backgrounds to give us a great movie, as you heard from all 4 of us here talking about how great this movie was, without any agenda being highlighted. So, Casey, with that.
I mean that's a great word. I'll let you roll with that. I am the only thing I'll harken back to is kind of what I said earlier about I'm interested in seeing where Shuri goes forward. Same way with M'Baku. Like the generation above them is gone, right? Like where do they go now? And then James, I think to your point of like people being upset about it, like I don't want to speak into how other people receive it or what they're feeling, especially not across different ethnicities and backgrounds, right? Like I can't be an expert in all that kind of stuff. The sad reality, and you've done a great job pointing this out, James, is Ryan Coogler had to make it up. The reason this isn't that men aren't more highlighted in this is, and I just keep coming back to, sometimes grief is anger. We're missing Chadwick Boseman, right? I mean, he was gonna lead this movie, and So that's what it is, and that's just it's sad all the way through. And again, this movie's done a great job of that. But as for is there enough representation, man? Again, it's not for me to say in any of that stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing
Yeah, unfortunately,
Mbaku
it
and
wasn't
Shuri
just
going
this
forward
movie.
and what they
She-Hulk
might be
sent a
doing with
lot of
those
people.
characters.
Obviously, as She-Hulk told you, sent a lot of people on on off kilter. Mighty Thor did it, and Captain Marvel did it.
Kamala
Kamala Khan.
Khan.
They really did
Yes.
not have a year. Guys who say the words like emasculated, they really did not have a
Yeah.
year.
They're calling it the MCU instead of the
This is fine with
MCU.
me. All right. So we're gonna do final thoughts and grades. Final thoughts and grades. So we'll go around. I'll actually let Casey go first. Final thought and grade.
Guest of honor.
Yeah, I would say A minus. There are things that you can nitpick about. This movie had to do a lot. Again, the fact that it did as much as it did, as well as it did, is great. For me personally, I love that we're getting more and more diverse stories in the MCU. I love that as a white male and as the movie would have called a colonizer, right? I like that this movie had strong black women in it and that I could watch it and enjoy it and I could be invited into this movie as part of the MCU and part of a bigger picture. I just think it's really important to have stories like this. I'm excited for when once we get through all the phases to show movies like this one to my sons. So I feel grateful to be invited into watching a movie like this, to go with you, James and Keith, to be invited on a podcast to talk about this. It's just a huge privilege, and love the movie, and I love the opportunity to be here. So thank you guys for all of this.
All right, Keith. Final thoughts, grade.
Uh, A plus is my grade, and my final thoughts are: if you if you haven't seen this movie and you plan to, bring some bring some Kleenex because thugs cry in the dark.
Yeah, I
Doug's
definitely
kind of dark. I like that
probably
one.
3 times, right? At least twice, if not 3 times.
It got me. It got me twice at least. Yeah, it got me twice at least.
All right, James.
My first reaction to the movie was a solid A. Then I was teetering more towards an A minus afterwards. Again, I was falling prey to a lot of external sources, but then seeing again with these two gentlemen here who appreciate their time of a busy day coming out and enjoying the movie with me, and then downloading the soundtrack. We didn't talk about the music and score, but there's something to say about when I played the soundtrack and my gut reminds me of a certain scene in that movie, and that's powerful. When Shuri becomes a black, that song, I was joking around. I don't know if I told Keith that's gonna be my new gym walking in entrance. I want somebody to record me parking my car, walking to the gym, playing that music when Shuri becomes a Black Panther and drops in front of a Baku. That'd be so hard. But I digress. As usual, I digress. So that brought me back to from A minus to a solid A. I can't quite give it an A plus because of my re and the CGI. But yeah, I stand by my A final grade.
Yeah, I was having a tough time with the grade here because this is one of those where here, Ryan Coogler, you got a big pile of surprise. What are you going to do with it? Right? And this coming on the heels of one of the best individual movies of the MCU, one of the best solo movies. Um, I I think I'm going with A minus. I think there's some messiness to this. It's unfortunate, inherent in the amount of things you've got to cover with this. I don't think it's better than the first one, but I think it's mostly because the first one is tighter, and but all of the acting, all the characters are all A plus level. All of the storyline is very solid. So I could probably be convinced at a straight A for me, but I think I'm going to go with A minus for now. And I was just thinking about it because the way the MCU is structured, the way the second movie for all of these characters is built, it's usually the character and you have to introduce the sidekick. Whereas this had to do the opposite. It had to turn the sidekick into the main hero and introduce a new character plus all the other stuff. The complexity of this, Ryan Coogler deserves some award of some kind because the complexity is just through the roof. All right. That would be our grades here for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Why don't you please come to socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
Yes, please subs. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. As long as we have Twitter, God knows what's happening with that.
Tell us what you think.
Please tell us what you think about the movie. Tell us if you agree, disagree, your hot takes. We had some good hot takes for this episode, particularly. Yeah. We wish Mike well, his family. Hope to see him soon. Also, leave comments, but don't address them to me. Leave comments to everyone on the podcast, please.
Please don't text
Let's get the conversation going. Don't text me.
Leave it.
You know, that's the obvious thing. Please leave comments. I think this movie is going to warrant a lot. Between now and the end of the year, we'll have a lot of conversations about this movie as we get to the holidays. I'm looking forward to it. We all reachable. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me this week. We will see you.
Hey, Indigo made the beat.